This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hello 313. Hello Michigan. You're listening to Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver. I'm your host. This is something fresh. This is something new. This is something unheard of in these parts in the great state of Michigan. This is a show dedicated and strictly dedicated to travel basketball here in Michigan, the Detroit area, and pretty much all over. Once again, I'm your host, Gus Weaver. I'm really excited about this. For you guys that don't know who I am, I do come from a sports background. I am a director of a program currently. I do have numerous sites that you guys are welcome to follow. For now, let's get started out with giving out a shout to at Detroit Podcast. Please follow these guys at Detroit Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at 313LifeBrand. Once again, follow me on Twitter at 313LifeBrand. Follow Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast. Both of those are on Twitter. On Instagram at Detroit Sports_podcast. Once again, on IG, follow Detroit Sports Podcast Radio at Detroit Sports_podcast. Follow me, your host, Gus Weaver, at 313_life_brand. What we will bring to you on this show, on this platform that I've been afforded the opportunity to do so upon, we're going to recap a big-time tournament from just this past weekend every Friday. This show will air every Friday. We're going to recap the previous weekend biggest tournament that we know here in Michigan. And after we do that, we will look forward and give you a look ahead, so to speak, on a big-time tournament coming up this weekend. Okay? So we will try to follow that order as we get things going. Once again, this is the first show, Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver. This is the first one. As we go along, we will have guests. I felt like it was important for you guys to hear me and only me in episode 1. In episode 2, I will see who's interested upon these prominent programs, and we will have guests moving forward. But for today, it's important that you guys hear me, get to know me a little bit, get comfortable with the platform, get comfortable with the show, get comfortable with my voice, and get comfortable as of to what I'm looking for, who I want to shout out. Big time programs, you know, the small fish trying to make a splash and become big time programs. All of those things we will cover in this program. I say let's get right to it. In a recap of last week's biggest tournament around this area was the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest 2018, filled with teams from all around the state of Michigan. Some teams, I believe, are from outside of the state of Michigan. And I'm basically going to report on what I saw, and I will give you facts. I will give you some key contributions, and let's get this ball rolling. Let's start out with the third grade division. What we'll do is touch on the Final Four. We will touch on the Final Four in every grade division, starting with the third grade division. You got Flint Affiliation, Team Saginaw, Team C2K, and the Michigan Playmakers. That's your Final Four for the third grade division. In the first game of that, you got Flint Affiliation running all over Team Saginaw, 41-13. It was a fast-paced game. These teams obviously weren't clearly matched up too equally, and it showed in the final score, once again, 41-13. Team C2K took out the Michigan Playmakers 23-15, which led to a championship game between Flint Affiliation, Team C2K, and Flint Affiliation walked out with the championship, defeating Team C2K 25-16 in that championship game. Big congratulations to the FA Flint Affiliation third grade squad on their championship. A couple of things stuck out to me in this bracket was guard play. Guard play by the FA team, Flint Affiliation, was superior amongst all four of these Final Four teams. And sometimes when you're looking at this grade level, third grade level, guard play can determine whether you win or lose. It was pretty clear in this Final Four who had the better guards. That was Flint affiliation, and that's why they won the hardware. Moving on to the 4th grade division. And one thing that you'll notice as we get into this program and as we move forward into future programs, when we discuss tournaments, there are powerhouse programs, so to speak. And when I say powerhouse, what I mean by that is some programs have multiple teams all over different age groups, sometimes 2 teams in an age group. So, for example, I just mentioned Flint affiliation 3rd grade squad winning that tournament. Well, they also have a 4th grade team, and they're in the 4th grade Final Four. So not only are they in the tournament, they made the Final Four just like the 3rd grade team. And that, to me, is what you call a powerhouse program. Programs that continually put different teams in here, and it doesn't matter the grade level. All these guys are showing up. All of them are performing, and they're making Final Fours, which is difficult to do. So let's get to the 4th grade Final Four. Number 1 seed, Flint affiliation. They'll be taking on Motor City Thunder in the first round of that. Then you got Michigan Warriors taking on the Michigan Playmakers, also in the second half of that Final Four bracket. Flint affiliation made very easy work of Motor City Thunder, defeating them 42-22. And Michigan Warriors fell a little bit short versus the Michigan Playmakers. Final score in that one, 37-30. Playmakers move on. Flint affiliation moves on. This will be the 2nd consecutive bracket that we're talking about with Flint affiliation being represented in the championship game, 3rd grade and 4th grade. Only difference is in this 4th grade matchup, Flint affiliation ran into a Playmakers team that was pretty stout. They were more athletic, I thought, and I hate to say, but superior from a coaching aspect. That the coaches from the Playmakers were really on their guys. They were organized. They didn't beat themselves, and they walked away with a championship, defeating Flint affiliation 55-42. Congratulations, Michigan Playmakers, 4th grade champs at the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest tournament. And like I said, every bracket will show you something different. 3rd grade bracket, I thought guard play was, very important and helped win the trophy. 4th grade bracket, I thought athleticism by the Playmakers and superior coaching was a determining factor in them winning that hardware. So as we move on, you'll see, and I encourage all of you guys to, hit one of these AAU tournaments if it's in your area and just check out the scene. It's always a good scene, highly competitive games, and if you're interested in, maybe if you have a child or a nephew or a grandson, come and check it out. It's something that leads to better opportunities, and it's always good to keep the kids busy. Once again, follow Detroit Sports Podcast on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at 313LifeBrand. On Instagram at Detroit Sports _podcast, at 313_life_brand. Let's move on to the 5th grade division. The number 1 seed in the 5th grade division was a team put together by Ann Arbor Basketball Association and 03 kind of joined forces and created this AABA 03 elite team. Okay, so that's your number 1 seed. And also in this Final Four, another Flint affiliation team. That's 3 grade divisions we've talked about so far. 3 Flint affiliation teams in those Final Four so far. Powerhouse program. Also in this 5th grade division Final Four, the Denzel Valentine group, DV45. They will be going against Michigan Warriors. Here's the deal. 2 powerhouse teams in here, if you ask me. That's the AABA 03 Elite joint team and the DV45 squad, and they proved it. First game in this 5th grade Final Four, we saw the AABA run all over FA. Only won by 10, but the game wasn't that close. DV45 just ruined Michigan Warriors 60-39, and it was a blowout from jump, if you will. It was clear who was the better team in the DV45 versus Michigan Warriors game, and both of those teams, DV45 and AABA 03, will move on to the championship, which we thought would be a highly competitive championship in the 5th grade level, and turns out we were all wrong, as DV45 trounced AABA 03 elite team 54-32. Big congratulations to DV45. Those guys came out with a lunchbox mentality. They came out ready to work. They were well coached, highly skilled, and they got up and down the court with the best of them. Congratulations to the 5th grade DV45 squad on the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest Championship. Another thing you'll notice is a lot of NBA stars, NBA players, former NBA players, they do have their own programs, and they're spread across the country. And a lot of the times these are the more elite programs. To name a few, Jeff Teague, Chris Paul, we just mentioned Denzel Valentine, Draymond Green. All these guys have their hands in the travel basketball world. It's not just something here, but it's spread across the country. And it's a field, an industry that's continuing to grow. And if you're not involved, it's something really good, something very entertaining if you are into basketball, something you should take into, just think about. Let's move on to the 6th grade division of last week's recap of the Warriors Jam Fest tournament, which saw our number 1 seed, 313 Hot Boys out of Detroit, Michigan Goonies, Michigan Warriors, and Ballers Elite. This was a very intriguing Final Four because it's crazy how 3 of these 4 teams came out of the same pool. There were 3 pools in this tournament, and the strongest pool by far was Pool A, which included the 313 Hot Boys, the Michigan Goonies, and Ballers Elite. All 3 of those made it to the Final Four. Here's how it shook out in that 6th grade Final Four division. You had the 313 Hot Boys defeating Michigan Goonies in a tightly contested game, 61-52, won by 9 points, and it was about a 7, 8, 9, 10-point game pretty much the entire time. And then you had Michigan Warriors falling short against Ballers Elite, 36-25, a low-scoring defensive matchup. And, Ballers Elite, they got some real skilled guys on the perimeter, and they have some definite size on the wing. So it made it difficult for the Michigan Warriors to get good looks, hence the 25 points. That is what brought us to the championship, 313 Hot Boys versus Ballers Elite. A little bit of history with these 2 programs. It was about a month ago, 313 Hot Boys defeated Ballers Elite in a championship game of the Midwest Spring Invitational, which was held at Brownstown Sports Complex. Hot Boys got the better of them in the championship game. Just so happened these guys were matched up in the same pool in pool play. So they had to play each other again on Saturday. 313 Hot Boys edged them out. I believe they beat them by 8 or 9. And what that led to is the championship Sunday, and had these 2 clubs matched up again to play each other again for another trophy. And I don't care how good your team is or how bad the other team is, it's very difficult to beat any squad 3 games in a row. And that's what was stacked up against the 313 Hot Boys in this championship bout. And they came out victorious, a very tight game. And they won 52-47 over Ballers Elite, a very tightly contested game. Crazy skill on both sides of the ball for these 2 teams. And big congratulations to the Hot Boys for a very hard fought victory and championship in the 6th grade division of the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest. As we move on to the 6th grade, we want to keep you guys in mind that this is our first time doing this. My name is Gus Weaver. I'm your host. The platform is Detroit Sports Podcast. If you're not familiar, you should get familiar. We're moving on to the 7th grade division, and here's how the Final Four shook out. Number 1 seed in the 7th grade division was the Michigan Warriors. The family was in the Final Four. Lansing Spartans made the Final Four. Michigan Playmakers. So the first game was the most competitive game, if you ask me. And Michigan Warriors narrowly defeated the family 42-40 in an up-and-down game. Defense, coaching, guard play was all on display in this matchup, and Warriors edged them out by 2 points. A great game to watch. Second game, not so great to watch. Lansing Spartans ran all over Michigan Playmakers in another, Final Four defeat for the Michigan Playmakers. Not showing up thus far in the Final Four are the Playmakers, which brought us to the championship game, stacking the Michigan Warriors team, fresh off a tough defeat of the family, and going against Lansing Spartans, who's fresh off a blowout. So 2 different mentalities coming into the championship game at the 7th grade level. One team coming in off a blowout, one team coming in off a hard-fought 2-point victory, and I'm not sure if that helped or hindered either squad. What I can tell you is the final score: Lansing Spartans 51, Michigan Warriors 43. Congratulations to the Lansing Spartans on their 7th grade championship of the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest 2018 tournament. Very hard-fought game in that championship. Before that championship, Lansing had kind of walked through the field, and Michigan Warriors gave them all they had. Highly contested battle. Skill, in the long run, skill won, and the better team won. So congrats to the Lansing Spartans. Let's look at the 8th grade division, which saw another Flint affiliation team creeping into the Final Four, but not exactly creeping. A number 1 seed in the Final Four of the 8th grade division. They'd be taking on the Michigan Playmakers. In the other game, you got the Grand Rapids Phoenix playing against a tough Reach squad. Here's how it shook out. First round, the Flint affiliation made easy work of the Michigan Playmakers in another tough defeat. First round of Final Four bracket play for the Michigan Playmakers. Once again, not performing that well so far in this tournament as we go from youngest to oldest. We'll see if they can turn that around as the program goes along. 56-43, Flint affiliation over Playmakers. Next game, Grand Rapids Phoenix 53-43. In a game that wasn't as close as the 10-point margin of victory, Grand Rapids was in control pretty much the whole time. Tough outing for Reach. Grand Rapids moves on. Flint affiliation moves on, which should be a very exciting game to watch in the championship. You got Flint affiliation and Grand Rapids Phoenix at the 8th grade level. And Flint affiliation managed to get a championship out of this one. 56-49 as a final score. Congratulations to Flint affiliation on their 8th grade championship. And once again, anytime you talk about the Flint affiliation teams, you know they're strong with guard play. So as we go from 3rd grade all the way here to 8th grade, that's their 2nd championship. And in both situations, guard play was a determining factor. Flint affiliation, that's what they do. Congratulations. Let's move on to the 9th grade division, which saw MWA have a number 1 seed. MWA Elite is out of Michigan, Detroit. Michigan Dynamite in the Final Four. Michigan Goonies, Final Four. Playmakers, Final Four. This one was a good Final Four to watch. Not that every game was highly competitive, but superstars were in this group in terms of individual players. People that's gotten offers already from big time colleges, people that are doing their thing in high school. Once again, this being the 9th grade division, and some big time names in this Final Four. Let's get right to it. MWA goes down in a shocking upset as the number 1 seed in the Final Four to Michigan Dynamite, losing by 14 points, 54-40. They gave up way too many easy buckets as a result of turnovers. So that's normally what happens when you're facing a quality team. You turn the ball over, you're going to get ran out the gym. That's what happened for them, 54-40. The other game, not close either. Playmakers, 45-19 victors over Michigan Goonies in a game that wasn't close, and it was clear the talent disparity and the coaching. Playmakers, all of this worked in their favor over the Michigan Goonies, which set up what everyone thought, which would be a great championship game between Michigan Dynamite and Michigan Playmakers. And what turned out was Michigan Playmakers lived up to their name, and they got rid of Michigan Dynamite. It really wasn't even close. Final score 53-24, and the Playmakers made plays behind one of their superstar players. So congratulations to the 9th grade Michigan Playmakers, champs in this year's Jam Fest tournament 2018. Once again, if you guys are just tuning in, I'd like to say again, this is our first podcast showing with Detroit Sports Podcast. And what we'll do every week is bring you the ins and outs of travel basketball here in the great state of Michigan. We will touch on the previous weekend's tournament. We will touch on an upcoming tournament, and we'll hit on everything in between in terms of players to watch, teams to watch, what type of winning streaks are going on, who needs to bounce back, who's the teams that's fresh on the scene, and who's the old teams on the scene that's living by name and by name only. We won't be ashamed to call a team out on this program because we don't really have an affiliation with anybody. Here we go. Let's get into our 10th grade division. 10th grade division. North Oakland Wolfpack, number 1 seed in the Final Four against another put-together team by AABA, Ann Arbor Basketball Association, and 03. Reach is in this Final Four. Big-time program. Playmakers in the Final Four. Anytime you get Reach and Playmakers in the Final Four, you know it's going to be good because these programs like Reach, like Playmakers, they're sort of like the glue of Michigan travel basketball. You know, they keep this thing ticking. They've been around forever. They've sent guys to college. They've got pros, you know, as alumni. These are the programs that have to do well in order for Michigan basketball to do well. It's the programs like Reach. It's the programs like Playmakers. Both of those guys in the 10th grade Final Four should have been a good one. Here's how we started out. The number 1 seed getting knocked off early by AABA 03 elite team, and this is actually their national team. So they knocked off North Oakland Wolfpack 48-44, upset fashion. And in the other half of the bracket, Reach ran all over the Playmakers 70-37. Is something that I didn't see coming. I know Reach has a very talented squad on the 10th grade level. I didn't know the talent was that big of a difference between Reach and Playmakers. Now I know. Championship game was set up beautifully between AABA and Reach. And in the end, Reach had too many studs at the 10th grade level. And they know how to play ball. They're well coached. They've been doing this together for a very long time. And congratulations to the Reach 10th grade squad for walking away with victory at the Jam Fest 2018 tournament. Let's get to the 11th grade level, which is the highest level at this tournament. And it featured the number 1 seed Michigan Playmakers, Sporting U, Reach, Goonies. Once again, when you get programs like Playmakers, programs like Reach, and Goonies is making a name for themselves now. This is a quality Final Four. These guys are the glue to Michigan travel basketball. Playmakers defeated Sporting U in the first round of that, 62-53. A very competitive game. I don't think the 9-point final really shows you what the game was about. It was a very competitive, every shot contested type of game. Playmakers move on. The other half of this Final Four, Reach over Michigan Goonies 77-69. Once again, a very competitive game. Reach behind stellar guard play, behind experience overall. I think we're able to get past them by a slim 8-point margin. I say slim because once again, this game was tight and it could have went either way coming down the stretch. And it set up a beautiful championship game between two prevalent programs in the Michigan area, Reach and Playmakers. Reach were able to get by them by a final score of 51-43, and that's 2 consecutive now, 10th grade and 11th grade, that the Reach program has been able to get championships here at the 2018 Michigan Warriors Jam Fest tournament. So congratulations to both Reach programs, 10th and 11th grade. Now that's a wrap on this past weekend's tournament, the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest 2018 tournament. It was a very well-played tournament by all teams. Michigan Warriors did a great job hosting it. Follow them on Twitter at MI Warriors. They do this every year. Great people there. The trophies were great. The kids loved it. Security was there. No worries. Everything worked out well. Shout out to the Michigan Warriors. As we look ahead to the Moneyball tournament this weekend coming up, big-time tournament. If you guys aren't familiar with Moneyball, they're an apparel company out of the Lansing area, and they've grown leaps and bounds and is really doing their thing right now. But one thing they do annually is their Moneyball tournament. They hold it in Lansing, and they get teams from all over coming up there to visit. And this will be, our first time looking in depth at this tournament, considering the platform that we have with Detroit Sports Podcast. So let's get to it. Big time tournament this weekend in Lansing, Michigan, hosted by Moneyball. These teams go from 5th grade to 11th grade. We're going to give you a quick crash course on some of the teams involved, where they're from, and give you maybe some players to look at and some teams to look at in this tournament, okay? So here we go. Let's jump right into it. At the 5th grade division, you got the BGC Wildcats out of Grand Rapids, D. Rice Elite from West Bloomfield, Greenwood Elite from Saginaw, Kings Nation from Kalamazoo, Lansing United, Michigan Titans from Lansing, Quest from Lansing, Shabazz Academy from Lansing. 2 teams I'm really looking at out of this group is the D. Rice Elite team from West Bloomfield. I'm looking at the Greenwood Elite team. That's Draymond Green's program out of Saginaw. And I'm definitely looking at Lansing United. So that's 3 teams keep your eye on in the 5th grade division of the upcoming Moneyball tournament. D. Rice Elite, Greenwood Elite, Lansing United. Give them a shot. Let's see what happens. And no disrespect to the rest of these squads. BGC is tough from Grand Rapids, the Wildcats team. That's a tough team. But Let's see what happens. This is why the games are played. All of these should be highly competitive games, and I know for a fact that the championship games will be very competitive. Let's get to the 6th grade division. Out of Detroit, you got the 313 Hot Boys, Kings Nation, Lansing Mavericks, Michigan Titans, Motor City Thunder Elite out of Inkster, Quest out of Lansing, RA1 out of Lansing, Skills Nation out of Lansing, and out of Grand Rapids, you have True Athletics Panthers. A quick thing about this 6th grade group is you got a team coming in here in this 6th grade group riding a 16-game win streak. They've racked up 3 tournament championships during that win streak, and they are the 313 Hot Boys, coming in very hot, but they are in a tough pool, and they're going to be matched up with a tough team right off Jump Street Saturday morning against Kings Nation, a tough team from Kalamazoo. Another team to look at out of this group, I would say, is Motor City Thunder Elite out of Inkster, a very tough, hard-nosed, well-coached, experienced team, been there, done that, accustomed to winning trophies. And this will be a different look for both the Motor City Thunder Elite and the 313 Hot Boys, making that trip from the Inkster, Detroit area up here to face teams that they've never faced before for the most part. And we'll see how it shakes out. Those are my teams to keep an eye on in the 6th grade pool. Looking at the 7th grade, not as many teams, but it's going to be just as competitive. 7th grade, BGC Wildcats, once again out of Grand Rapids. Common Bond from Ypsilanti. Lansing Spartans. Michigan Titans out of Lansing. Midwest Stampede out of Adrian, Michigan. And the Prospectors. 2 teams for me to watch in 7th grade bracket. Common Bond out of Ypsilanti, very well coached team. These guys are, you got a special kid on there playing up, and they just know how to play basketball. I'm looking at the BGC Wildcats out of Grand Rapids. I'm also intrigued by the Adrian team, Midwest Stampede. I'm always interested to see how these small town teams like Midwest Stampede out of Adrian, Michigan, how do they travel going into a big time tournament like this Moneyball tournament held in Lansing. I will definitely keep my eyes on the Adrian squad, Midwest Stampede. Keep my eyes on Common Bond out of Ypsi. Keep my eyes on BGC Wildcats out of Grand Rapids in the 7th grade division. Let's look at the 8th grade. Once again, not as many teams, but just as competitive. Big time team, Champs Sports out of Mount Pleasant. Flint Affiliation, Kings Nation, Michigan Roadrunners out of East Lansing, Michigan Titans, and another Quest team. You know, Quest is another one of these powerhouse groups. You know, so far through 4 divisions, we've introduced 3 teams. So, you know, that's 3 out of 4 for Quest, a major program out of the Lansing area. And that's one of the programs for this 8th grade division that I got my eyes on. Also, the Champs Sports team out of Mount Pleasant, I'm intrigued by because I've never seen them play. Flint Affiliation is in this at the 8th grade level, and they just won a tournament at the Michigan Warriors Jam Fest that we were just discussing. So your eyes definitely have to be on that team, just as the 313 Hot Boys in the 6th grade division. Your eyes definitely have to be on them because we just told you how they won tournaments last week. So that's two teams from the former tournament we just discussed already in this one, looking to, you know, have a little carryover effect and win the crown again. Those 2 teams so far, 6th grade level, 313 Hot Boys, 8th grade level, Flint Affiliation. Let's look at the 9th grade level where the teams start to ramp up. Once you get in the high school division, you'll notice that there's more and more teams involved, and these guys really come after it. This is where you see all the spectacular dunks. You see the big name coaches. You see the scouts. And this is where it's at, grades 9, 10, and 11. Grades 9 for the Moneyball tournament. Out of Lansing, Team CCE. Detroit Phoenix Elite. DV45 out of East Lansing. JWR Warriors out of Lansing. Kings Nation out of Kalamazoo is putting 2 teams in this tournament at the 9th grade level. You have a Kings Nation Black and Kings Nation Gold. You got the Lansing Spartans. Metro Elite from Flint. Michigan Dynamite from Ypsi. Michigan Mustangs from Battle Creek. Michigan Titans from Lansing. Mid-Michigan Lakers from Flint. North Oakland Wolfpack from Clarkston. The Prospectors, and of course, big-time Reach. Reach is a big-time program. Everyone knows them. Now, with a field this big, it's very difficult to dissect and say this team or that team. And, you know, so I have my eye literally on about 3 or 4 teams that could potentially win this 9th grade group. And one of them is Team CCE out of Lansing. One of them is the Reach team. One of them is Kings Nation. And the other is the DV45 group that we've been watching a little bit here and there. Very talented group. All these teams have a lot to bring to the table, and they all go about it a different way. So the clash of styles in this 9th grade group will be something that's fun to watch to see which style ends up on top. 10th grade division is kind of similar in terms of number of teams. Like I said, when you get in the high school divisions, the number of teams ramp up. Let's take a look at the 10th grade division of the Moneyball tournament this weekend. Out of Flint, you got Comrades United, Detroit Spartans, HHBC Flight out of Hanover, Michigan, JWR Warriors. Once again, Kings Nation putting 2 teams in the 10th grade. Kings Nation Black, Kings Nation Gold. Michigan Titans out of Lansing, Michigan Warriors out of Westland, Mid-Michigan Elite out of Grand Ledge, Michigan. Mid-Michigan Lakers out of Flint, MMBA out of Lansing, North Oakland Wolfpack from Clarkston, Strictly Skills, and T3 Select Team out of Ypsilanti. Once again, another heavy field. Hard to pick a winner. I'd like to see what HHBC Flight Team from Hanover has to bring to the table. Not familiar with them guys at all. I do know about Detroit Spartans. They're looking forward to coming to Lansing and putting on a good show. I'm familiar with the Michigan Warriors. They're looking forward to traveling and bringing their fan base to Lansing and putting on a good show. But in my eyes, one team that stands out, Kings Nation Black. Another team that stands out is the Mid-Michigan Elite out of Grand Ledge. Keep your eyes on those 2 teams in the 10th grade division of the Moneyball tournament. Let's look at the oldest division, the 11th grade division, Moneyball tournament this weekend in Lansing. And let's kick it off with Battle Creek is well represented by the BC Elite team, Detroit Phoenix Elite, Detroit Spartans, Fresh Skills Comrade Elite from Flint, Michigan Blue Devils from Clinton Township, Michigan Titans, Michigan Warriors, Mid-Michigan Lakers, Midwest Stampede from Adrian, MMBA from Lansing, MWA Elite from Detroit, the Owls from Livonia, Reach, and Strictly Skills. A heavy field. This may be the toughest one to win. I would say this 11th grade, the 9th grade, and the 6th grade just might be the most highly competitive age groups in this tournament. I'm really interested to see what BC Elite out of Battle Creek can bring to this tournament. I'm intrigued by Reach, what they've been doing. This is the 3rd team now that's in this tournament that just won the championship at the Jam Fest tournament. Those 3 teams, 6th grade level, 313 Hot Boys, 8th grade level, Flint affiliation, 11th grade level, Reach. So here we are, Reach again, trying to roll that right over into more hardware. They're definitely a team that I'm looking out for. I'm looking out for the Livonia Owls just to see how these small-time teams travel to big-time tournaments. I want to see the fan base. I want to see the fanfare. I want to see how they react with all of the lights and media attention. Really looking forward to watching the Livonia Owls and the Adrian Midwest Stampede teams in the 11th grade division. That's a wrap for a look ahead to the Moneyball tournament. And, you know, the Moneyball tournament, once again, is something that they do every year. Big-time tournament. Teams come from all over. We're excited to be able to cover it. We're excited to be able to give you feedback. We're excited to give you previews. And we will follow up with you next week and give you some of these results. Once again, we're thanking Detroit Sports Podcast for the platform. Before we get out of here, something I want to do each and every week is give some players, give some teams some shout outs, give you some teams to watch, which we already did when we covered the upcoming Moneyball tournament. So what I want to do is highlight a few players that I know, moving forward. If you guys have information that I should have about a particular player, about a particular team, I gave you the social media handles. Reach out to us, drop an inbox. Reach out to me, drop an inbox. If you got somebody that you think deserves attention on this program, reach out to me. Right now, I'm going to cover some guys that I know that will be participating in the Moneyball tournament. We're going to start out at the 7th grade level. Head coach of the Common Bond team, Shaylor Barnes, he's bringing his troops. They're coming ready to ball. They've got a 6th grader playing up on this 7th grade team, deserves a shout out, Sherrod Barnes. He's a tough wing player, very long, can do it all. him and his 7th grade teammates, Joe Molnar, Nolan Lounger, these guys are coming to ball with 7th grade Common Bond team. Keep your eyes out for them in that bracket. And I told you, watch out for the Midwest Stampede out of Adrian. It's funny how these teams travel from small towns. So those 3 guys, keep your eye out on in the 7th grade. Now, in the 6th grade division, I got to tell you, watch out for this point guard from the Motor City Thunder Elite, Craig Lewis. He's a very tough, very hard-nosed, very competitive, very seasoned, well-coached, Mr. Do-It-All point guard. He's going to wreak havoc in the 6th grade division of this tournament. And because these 3-1-3 Hot Boys I mentioned are on a 16-game win streak, encapsulating 3 trophies. They've earned 3 trophies in this 16-game win streak. And those trophies are in Ohio and in Michigan. I got to shout out their key players that's been making this happen. I'll tell you who they had 2 guys from the Cincinnati tournament that made all-tournament team. That is Mr. Derek Miller and James Weaver. Derek Miller also won MVP of the Michigan Warriors tournament last weekend. He's a bona fide scorer. James Weaver can fill it up with the best of them. He's a defensive specialist as well. I got to shout out Luke Westerdale from the Hot Boys, who went to Kentucky and earned himself a 3-point championship shootout trophy, being crowned the best shooter there. Now, we mentioned from Common Bond, they got a player playing up. We have to mention from the Hot Boys, they have a player playing up. They have a 5th grader playing on the 6th grade squad. His name is Stevie Elam. He's a true 2025 kid playing up on the 2024 team, and you never know it by watching him play. Mr. Ron Johnson from the Hot Boys and Mr. Chandler Allen from the Hot Boys and Mr. Alex Gillum from the Hot Boys. That rounds out this squad that has won 16 consecutive games. Over the last few weeks, they've been missing a piece, but also contributed was Christopher Bryant. These guys are loaded, and I'm very intrigued to see how they travel and go against a different type of team with the Lansing crew, the Grand Rapids crew, the Kalamazoo crew. I really got my eyes on the Hot Boys, and their 16-game win streak will be tested right off the bat going against a tough Kings Nation team. Hey, guys, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Once again, our handles to follow us on social media, on Twitter, at Detroit Podcast. That's the platform. Follow me personally on Twitter, at 313LifeBrand. On IG, the platform, Detroit Sports _ Podcast. Me personally, 313_life_brand. You just listened to the first Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver show, and I appreciate you for tuning in. I look forward to improving this program. Remember, next week I plan on having a guest. We will discuss the tournament that we just talked about, the Moneyball tournament. We will discuss what's coming up next with my special guest. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Gus Weaver, and you just listened to Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver.